I've decided to become a tattooist.
Wait, this is about my life as a tattoo artist. You can skip to the actual tattoo classes.
There are some reasons, but to put it simply, after working in a company for several years, I started feeling uneasy, like it wasn't really mine. We all feel the same things, right? But why tattoos? I had been interested in tattoos in the past, but I was in an environment where it was hard to even try. Besides, I majored in art and worked in a design-related job. With those qualifications, I thought I had a much better starting point than most. Still, I didn't know much, so I started by checking Instagram. So many artists were showing off their amazing skills there. I was quickly captivated by the cute, cool, and unique tattoos, and I became certain that I wanted to give it a real shot. But how do I learn? I went ahead and DM'd some famous artists asking if I could learn from them.
Day 2. Bluntly asked famous tattoo artists to teach me how to tattoo, which obviously led to being ignored, ignored, and rejected again. I occasionally got replies, but they only said there were no plans for an academy at the moment. I thought about learning through YouTube, but it was way too difficult for a clueless idiot like me who knows nothing about tattoos. I seriously needed a teacher. Then I wondered, aren't there academies that teach tattooing? There was. Some places in Montreal, where I'm staying, that offered tattoo lessons. While looking through reviews to decide where to learn, an acquaintance told me she had learned tattooing in Montreal, but according to her, there were no places offering one-on-one lessons, and most of the classes were conducted primarily in French. The only French I know is bonjour. Day 3. Living in Montreal doesn't necessarily require French, but honestly, there are a ton of annoying inconveniences. Hearing that the tattoo classes were conducted mainly in French reminded me of the baking class I took with my fiancé. I remembered that teacher explaining in French for 5 minutes and then summarizing it in English for like 30 seconds. Looking back now, that was one hell of a summary. I bet tattoo classes are the same. So I googled places that offer classes in English. There were more than I expected, but the catch was I had to leave Montreal. I looked up flights to Vancouver back in June, and I guess it was graduation season or something, because they were insanely expensive. A round trip was like $1,000. I'm currently unemployed. Day 4. Anyway, I decided to go to Vancouver to learn tattooing. I had some errands to run there, and since I was going anyway, I wanted to meet in person for a consultation and had a lot of questions. Since it's a one-on-one class, I thought it was the most appealing option for me. While I was on the plane, I started seriously wondering, is this really the right thing to do? But I ended up falling asleep. I slept really well, so I stopped worrying halfway through. As soon as I arrived in Vancouver, the weather was insanely good. After doing this and that, I went to the tattoo shop. As stated on their website, the price for 8 lessons was $2,000. Honestly, it didn't seem that expensive, but to someone like me, who's unemployed, it felt ridiculously expensive. And in the midst of all this, I forgot something important. Day 5. My dumb brain forgot to create a social media account. For now, I came up with the name pretty casually. Something cute with my name Tay in it. Tay2 Tattoo. Cute is better than cool. Most cool tattoo artists use their own photo as a profile picture, but even though I have nothing to show yet, I wanted to go with a mysterious vibe. So I decided to just make a logo. I should make use of my experience as a graphic designer here. Anyway, since there are a lot of T's, I played around with designs combining English, Korean, and Japanese, and eventually came up with one I liked. I named it T-Face. It's cute. Since I'm going for a mysterious vibe by hiding my face, this is now my face. Just like Dream or Marshmallow, I'll become mysterious. What will happen next? Day 6. First of all, I came back to Montreal. From that point on, whenever I walked around the streets, I couldn't stop staring at people's tattoos. It was fascinating. There are so many amazing tattoos on Instagram, but in reality, most of the tattoos I saw were honestly not that great. It felt like a disconnect between the real world and the online world. In the midst of that, my fiancée told me she found an online class for me. It wasn't so much about tattooing techniques, but more about design creation and tips from tattoo artists. It seemed pretty useful, so I decided to take it and paid for the course. It feels like I'm going to go broke before I become a tattoo artist. Can I actually do this? Day 7. Before taking tattoo classes in Vancouver, I received a list of necessary supplies from my mentor to use for homework. I thought there were a ridiculous amount of things, like, what the hell is Vaseline for? Why are there so many types of needle cartridges, and the tattoo machines are insanely expensive? At least I decided to buy the beginner-friendly machine my mentor recommended, Dragonhawk Mast Full 2 Pro Wireless Tattoo Machine. First of all, the name is super cool. It sounds like a dragon will breathe fire in my tattoo. but the website is super slow, like ridiculously slow. Anyway, I ended up ordering a ton of stuff and it cost about $500. The Dragonhawk machine I ordered looked more sleek than grand, despite the flashy name. Day 8. Next week, I'm leaving for Vancouver to learn tattooing, but the problem is I injured my finger while playing Overwatch, of all things. Anyway, in the midst of all this, I got a pleasant DM. It was from my online tattoo class instructor, Jay Grayish. While doing homework, I had no idea if I was doing well or just messing everything up. I wanted to DM and get some confirmation, and luckily he replied warmly. He told me I was doing a great job with my designs and to never hesitate to reach out if I needed help. It was such an encouraging message for me, and I felt so happy, like I gained a solid supporter. Before leaving, I also got myself a new Mac Mini for video editing. My MacBook was from 2011, and I didn't want to torture it anymore. My fiancé and I had our favorite pho, watched a movie, and had one last date in Montreal before the trip. And just like that, I set off for Vancouver. Day 9. Another key reason I'm going to Vancouver to learn tattooing is this man, my favorite uncle, who lives there. He offered to let me stay in a room at his place until I can start making money. Considering the insane housing and rent prices in Vancouver, this was an incredible support. The room used to belong to my late grandmother, and it felt very cozy and snug. And finally, the day of my first tattoo class arrived. It takes 57 minutes by public transportation. I was a bit worried, since I don't have much experience getting around Vancouver alone, but navigating this route was pretty easy. That said, I did get off at the wrong bus stop and had to walk back one stop. Damn it. Anyway, I finally arrived at the shop, ready to start my first tattoo class. Day 10. There were a lot of customers at the shop, and my mentor was busy tattooing someone. Another staff member asked me if it would be okay to start the class a bit later because things were running behind schedule. It was annoying that I had rushed, but I didn't really mind. I'm unemployed anyway. I was thirsty, so I bought a blueberry yogurt nearby. Anyway, once the actual class began, we started with the theory part, and I realized that tattooists have to pay an incredible amount of attention to hygiene. There are so many things that need to be kept clean to prevent infections from blood or contamination of the skin. Next, I practiced drawing triangles, squares, and stars on fake skin using the tattoo machine. Because of the machine's vibration, weight, and controlling the ink, it felt very different from ordinary drawing. Damn, this is harder than I thought. Day 11. I'm on my way to the second tattoo class, and this time I luckily got off at the right bus stop. Taking tattoo classes makes me hungrier than I expected, so my aunt packed me a lunchbox. Anyway, when I arrived, today I learned about the basic setup, how to pay attention to hygiene, how to prevent chairs and tables from getting contaminated, things like that. Once again, they really care about hygiene more than I thought. Then I started practicing drawing straight lines in earnest. Straight lines, straight lines, straight lines. It was disappointing because they came out more wobbly than I expected. It's not as easy as it sounds. After about an hour, I guess I got a little used to it and I finally started drawing clean straight lines. I drew about 200 lines like that and finished. And today happened to be the day when another student of my mentor did their practice work and they looked really nervous. I wonder if I'll look like that on my practice day too. Day 12. While I was diligently taking tattoo classes both online and offline, one problem came up. I was running out of money. So for now, I applied to every job I thought I could do, whether part-time or full-time. Today in tattoo class, I tried drawing a human eye on fake skin, and the teacher said it was good for a first attempt. But I still felt pretty dissatisfied with the work. I guess I still don't fully understand the tattoo work technique, and I'm not quite used to the machine yet. After class, I was about to have a meal when I saw an elderly lady sitting on a bench smoking. When I tried to sit down, she asked if it was okay that she was smoking, and I said it was fine. But during the 10 minutes I was eating, she smoked 5 cigarettes. I didn't know she'd chain smoke like that. Day 13. This is beautiful Vancouver. Today I decided to try tattooing based on a design I created in an online class. First, I stencil the original design and print it out using a printer. Then I place it on fake skin to get everything ready. Then I start working with my friend, the Dragonhawk Master Fold 2 Pro wireless tattoo machine. I managed to do the black and white parts, the circle and the fox, reasonably well. But the problem was the tree that needed color work. I thought it would be too difficult to depict each branch and leaf individually, so I approached it like watercolor, but it didn't turn out at all as I imagined. Even I think the tree ended up looking kind of messy. After focusing on this for almost 7 hours, my neck, back, wrists, and fingers hurt on the way home. Can I really become a tattoo artist? Day 14. After trying tattooing on fake skin a few times, I felt like I could try it at home. Meanwhile, according to my online tutor, Jay Grayish, practicing on thinner fake skin in a slightly inconvenient environment would help a lot when it comes to doing real tattoos. I celebrated Canada Day, and after spending about 2 hours thinking about what design to try, searching for images, combining and editing them, I finally came up with a design I wanted to turn into a tattoo. While I was working on the stencil and printing it out, I got some on my hand. I realized why it's so important to wear nitrile gloves. Also, the stencil printer is surprisingly loud. Anyway, before starting, trying to set things up at home like a tattoo shop took longer than I expected. Part of it was because I was clumsy, but what can I do? I'm a beginner, right?
Day 15. Since I was working on a tattoo at home with materials I bought online, I ran into several problems. The gloves were so tight that it was hard to move my fingers, and the ink cups were also too small. The cover I bought to wrap the tattoo machine was too small too, so I just used the plastic wrap to roughly cover it. Well, I guess I'll have to buy new ones later. Anyway, I thought it was an easy design and expected to finish in about 4 hours. But once again, it took around 6 hours. This is how I engraved my first design onto fake skin.
Day 16. My tutor Ivan not only has quite a long career as a tattooist, but also has taught many students, so he guided me well so that I could learn without much difficulty. The funny thing is, neither of us speaks perfect English, but he taught well and I learned well. On the day I went for my 4th lesson, I wasn't really afraid anymore to tattoo on fake skin. The design I got this time was a mix of a goblin and flowers. It was a piece where shading was really important, and I thought it was quite challenging, so I found it very interesting. The problem was that my working speed was slower than I expected. At first, I thought I could almost finish it in about 5 hours, but I couldn't even complete half and had to take it home. Still, I'm excited because I think it'll look pretty cool once it's finished. Day 17. I got some homework. I brought home the goblin piece I couldn't finish at the shop last time, and I also wanted to refine the wooden part of the fox I'd worked on before. First, I tried to enrich the tree by adding small leaves and slightly brighter tones, but maybe because it was too similar to the fake skin color, the ink didn't take very well. As for the goblin, it took about 4 to 5 more hours of work to finally complete it, and I was quite satisfied with the result. I felt good that the sense of volume was expressed well. Somehow it seems that black and white work suits me a bit better. After working on the goblin piece, I showed it to my tutor Ivan and he said, "You're ready to tattoo on real skin." Only now do I feel like I might actually become a tattoo artist. Day 18. Finally, the day has come. The day I actually get to tattoo on real human skin. I remember watching a friend who started learning tattooing before me and seeing how nervous they were made me wonder, will I be like that too? And now it's my turn. The model I had booked sent me the design they wanted, a mix of a snake and a butterfly, so I planned hard in my head, running through simulations of how I'd do it, but, well, the client made a reservation and didn't show up. So instead, I found a model from among Ivan's students. She wanted to get a tattoo of 3 dragons, kind of like Game of Thrones. After finishing the stencil work and getting ready to tattoo, I stood alone in the bathroom and told myself to do my best. But doesn't this bathroom look exactly like what you'd imagine a tattoo shop bathroom would be? Day 19. The first day I tattooed on a human body, I realized that human skin is incomparably softer and absorbs ink completely differently than fake skin. Unlike fake skin, it also bleeds a little. I wasn't too nervous, but I did struggle at first to adapt to human skin. Thankfully, the model kindly took photos of my first tattoo work. I tattooed a total of 3 dragons. The first dragon took about 2 hours, while the other 2 took about an hour each, so I was able to finish everything in about 4 to 5 hours. So, here's the result. I was very happy after finishing the tattoos because it really seemed like the client was satisfied. It was a day when I felt pleased with my decision to become a tattoo artist.
Day 20. When I first started tattooing, I didn't know anything and just bought things randomly from the list my tutor gave me. After working on fake skin a few times, I realized that I had bought some wrong items and decided to purchase supplies that suited me better. First of all, the 9mm ink cups were too small, so this time I bought a 15mm ones. Also, even though I measured my hand and bought medium-sized nitrile gloves, they were too tight, so I ordered a large one this time. I also ordered larger tattoo pen covers. Lastly, I ordered 2 types of needle cartridges that the tattooist Fanny, whom I follow, mainly uses. I'd also like to buy a case to carry my tattoo machine, but for now, I'm satisfied with carrying it around in the box. Because honestly, I'm broke right now, and just like that, I ended up spending another $100.
Day 21. I had some luggage I couldn't bring from Montreal, so I headed back there. Anyway, I decided to use my spare time to practice another design. It was Ultraman, a character I liked when I was young. But I made one big mistake. If you tattoo right away after applying the stencil on fake skin, it quickly fades. So I left it on for almost the whole day and the stencil got completely absorbed into the fake skin. It wouldn't come off no matter what I did, so I ended up working over it. The problem was that I couldn't tell what was the stencil and what was the shading I'd actually done. Well, humans learn through experience. At least this time, unlike before, I didn't damage the fake skin. I've grown. That's enough for me. Anyway, after wrapping up various things in Montreal, I got back on the road to Vancouver again. Day 22. I needed to have a space at home where I could work on tattoos, so I turned the space my late grandmother used into a bit of a workspace for myself. Isn't this pretty decent? I divided the desk so that the left side is for videos and design work, and the right side is for tattoo work. Anyway, I'm off to do another tattoo today. The person who will be my model today is Ivan, who used to be my mentor. It felt like a bit of recognition to get permission to tattoo someone who taught me. The design he wanted was a snail standing on a razor blade. Of course, there were some slight modifications, but what worried me most was, will I be able to capture the texture of that snail properly? At first, since it was a weekday, I thought there wouldn't be any walk-in customers, and I'd be able to work on the tattoo at a relaxed pace, but that was a huge mistake. Day 23. Even though it was a weekday, there were so many walk-in customers that my tutor had to take them, and I had no choice but to just wait instead of doing the tattoo. I'd start working again, then another customer would come in, and my tutor would go do their tattoo, so I'd wait again. Then another walk-in customer showed up. The main tattoo artists in the shop were busy with their own clients, and this new customer said they had a limited budget. It wasn't really possible for the main artist to do a tattoo for a lower price, so they picked me. It was a simple lettering tattoo, so I finished it quickly, and seeing how satisfied the customer looked made me feel really good. Right after that, I also finished the snail tattoo that I'd been stopping and starting on. I wanted to take some cool photos of it, but I realized I need to practice that too. It ended up being a day where I unexpectedly tattooed 2 people. It was hectic, but still quite an interesting experience. Day 24. The model had a very clear example of the tattoo they wanted this time. It was an octopus design starting from the shoulder and climbing up the neck, so I prepared a suitable design accordingly. The problem was that the space on the shoulder where the octopus was supposed to go was quite limited due to tattoos already on the chest and back. As a result, the pre-prepared design was practically useless, and I had to remeasure the shoulder and the available area for the tattoo, then adjust the design in various ways to prepare a stencil that suited the model. The tattoo ended up being larger than expected, so we couldn't finish it in one day. We decided to meet again in 2 weeks to complete the rest. It's the first time I've done such a large tattoo, and I found the expression fun, so I really wanted to finish it beautifully as soon as possible. I think I'm finally starting to feel like a real tattooist. Day 25. When I first started looking for a job as a tattooist, I was worried about what to do. Just then, my online tutor, Jay Grayish, gave me all kinds of useful tips. As expected, he really is a benefactor. In the meantime, I was lucky enough to hear that the shop where I'd taken lessons was willing to hire me. Instead, they suggested that for the time being, I add a few more works on fake skin, come to the shop, try taking walk-in customers if the timing works out, and have an interview. I felt good because I thought I got this offer thanks to my decent skills and the qualities I showed as a tattooist. So, for my first fake skin piece for the interview, I decided to create a Poseidon design and started working on it. But wait, it's taking way too long. An 8-inch size was much bigger than I had thought. Day 26. Working on fake skin definitely feels very different from working on real skin. It's hard to explain in words, but to sum it up, real skin has countless variables that require constant adjustments, while fake skin has no such variables. Yet the feeling of putting ink into it is somewhat frustrating. Anyway, after working hard on that, a walk-in customer came in and I did the design they wanted. Then I went back home, set everything up again, and continued with the Poseidon piece I'd been working on. When I first did the stencil, a lot of the outer lines had rubbed off,
so the outlines weren't perfectly clean. But since the Foreman shading came out with a pretty high level of quality, I was satisfied with the result. I did wonder if working on sculpture as a subject really suits me, but still, at this point I want to challenge myself with various genres without limitation. That way, I'll eventually find my own style, right?
Day 27. Before doing a fake skin piece for my tattooist interview, I wanted to try working on my younger brother Coco in fake skin. This time, I also wanted to use coloring to get more familiar with adding tones. I prepared two versions of the image, one in black and white and one in color, since I'm not yet very used to distinguishing shading when color is involved. As usual, I did the stencil work, applied it to the fake skin, and started with the areas I could do in black ink first. Then I began adding color, but I realized there's definitely something off with the fake skin I have now. I bought it because it's thin, which I thought was an advantage, but after a while the stencil just won't wipe off at all. The same thing happened before when I worked on the Ultraman piece anyway. Although the fur details were a bit challenging, I ended up with a piece I'm reasonably satisfied with. But the stencil not wiping off, what should I do about that?
Day 28. When I thought about making a short-form video of myself becoming successful as a tattooist, I realized there was one thing I missed. It's hard to film while working on tattoos. So, I bought Meta AI glasses that can both function as glasses and record. Expensive, but filming is easy. Anyway, I continued another project for the tattooist interview. This time, I chose an X-ray flower, designing a flower to look as if it were taken with an X-ray. At first, I wasn't very interested, but surprisingly, it turned out to be fun and came out really well. The next design I made was the Chess King. I thought this one would be relatively easy, but unlike my expectations, there were some tricky parts. Especially making the curve smooth was challenging. Even with similar designs, some are easy and some are not. Day 29. The Chess King design surprisingly took a long time because of the graffiti background. To create that graffiti feel, I had to make countless tiny dots. Anyway, I finished it and went to the scheduled interview. Over the past few weeks, I've learned tattooing, worked on models, and even had some real clients. I can't call myself a fully fledged tattooist just yet, but I did want to receive offers that matched that level. Looking back, I think I had a bit of pride in myself. The revenue split between tattoo shops and artists varies from shop to shop and from region to region, so it's hard to make that information public, unless, say, a few thousand likes came in. Anyway, while sitting through the interview, I realized my expectations had been higher than I thought. With my current skill level, this is the kind of job offer I can get. Day 30. Anyway, I kept the job offer in mind, but I wondered if maybe other shops might want me. I reached out to several tattoo shops, sent them some of my work along with a brief resume, and waited. Since I had only been learning tattooing for 3 months, I was a bit worried and anxious about whether any place would take me in. In the meantime, I just practiced the designs I had made on my own while waiting. Oh right, drawing clean straight lines is really difficult. I promised myself I'd set aside time to practice that specifically. During all this, I had a second session for the octopus tattoo I hadn't finished before. I thought I would complete it this time, but the octopus turned out to be bigger than I expected. Also, on some tougher areas of skin, the ink didn't take as well as I had hoped, which was frustrating. Even after 2 6-hour sessions, it still looked far from finished, which was disappointing. Then, I got a message from another tattoo shop, excited. Day 31. Previously, I had taken tattoo classes and done a few tattoos. To get a job offer as a tattooist, I sent out my resume to several places. I visited another shop that had offered me a position, and since the location was convenient and the facilities were clean, I went for an interview. The first shop that gave me an offer had lots of walk-in clients, which was good for gaining experience, while the later one had a better revenue split for artists. So the pros and cons were clear. The decision didn't take long. I chose the latter shop. The two biggest reasons were, first, it was close enough that I could get there in just 30 minutes. And second, since I needed another job to cover living expenses, I couldn't afford to just wait around for walk-in clients. And so, my journey of becoming a tattooist comes to a close here. Because now that I am a tattooist, it's time to begin the journey of becoming a famous tattooist. Subscribe and follow me to join my journey.